If you have ever eaten a Milano cookie and thought, this seems too elegant to have been invented on purpose, congratulations, you're right. The Pepperidge Farm Milano is one of history's greatest culinary whoopsies. Right up there with the chocolate chip cookie, potato chips, and whatever eldritch cluster created spray cheese. So, today we're going to be taking a look at how Milano cookies were invented by accident. But before we get started, be sure to subscribe to the Weird History Food channel. After that, please leave a comment and let us know what other iconic cookies you'd like to hear about. Okay, Cookie Monsters, here we go. The legend, the lore, the snack with a passport. The Milano cookie is essentially a tiny, polite sandwich. Two crisp, oblong butter cookies with a silky layer of chocolate in the middle. It's the cookie equivalent of a tasteful black turtleneck. Simple, elegant, and somehow appropriate for all occasions. If Oreos are for dunking and Chips Ahoy are for inhaling during a crisis, Milanos are for nibbling while pretending to understand modern art. Interestingly, Milanos have a culinary older cousin, the langue de chat, also known as the cat's tongue biscuit. These thin, delicate cookies appear all over Europe, Asia, and South America, and the Milano's biscuit halves bear a strong resemblance to them in taste and composition. Luckily, Pepperidge Farm opted not to call these cat tongues with chocolate filling, because let's face it, that would be a pretty tough sell. Selling them in Canada also turned out to be pretty tough because a Canadian company already owned the rights to the name Milano. So in Canada, they're known as Monaco cookies, which we think is unfortunate. Canadians definitely deserve access to the full existential joy of dipping a Milano into tea while pretending to be in a Nancy Meyers movie. Anyway, the Milano shape is also part of its charm. It's not round, like a classic cookie, or square, like a graham cracker. It's this elegant, elongated oval that suggests sophistication without being pretentious. If a Milano could talk, it would speak in a calm British voice and say something like, "Do sit down, let's have tea," while an Oreo would just yell, "Twist me!" and tackle you. That oval shape actually helps with the texture. More edges for crispiness, more surface area for chocolate distribution, and easier stacking in those iconic white bags. Pepperidge Farm packaging is basically the Tiffany's box of the snack aisle. If someone gifts you Milanos, they're either in love with you or apologizing for something significant. But we're sure you're dying to know who is responsible for this fancy little snack, and the answer is a woman with a dream. Pepperidge Farm was founded in 1937 by Margaret Rudkin, a Connecticut mom who started baking whole grain bread for her son, who had asthma and food allergies. Yes, Pepperidge Farm was literally invented by an allergy mom. So if you think about it, Milanos are the ancestors of all gluten-free, dairy-free, keto-friendly, you name it snacks that moms now bake at 2 a.m. Even though Milanos have gluten and dairy and are not keto. Anyway, Rudkin's bread was so delicious that local doctors began recommending it to other families. She started selling it in grocery stores, and by the 1940s, Pepperidge Farm was shipping baked goods throughout New England. By the 1950s, Rudkin had added cookies, inspired heavily by European treats she encountered in France. This is why so many Pepperidge Farm cookies have vaguely European names like Bordeaux, Brussels, Geneva, and of course, Milano. Today, Pepperidge Farm is owned by the Campbell Soup Company, which sounds weird at first. But then again, corporations are like Pokemon. They evolve into increasingly bizarre forms that no one saw coming. Few of them, however, are as cute as Pikachu. Alright, here it is, the main event, the Big Cookie Bang. In 1957, Pepperidge Farm was developing a new product called the Naples. The Naples was an open-faced cookie with a slick of chocolate on top. A delicious idea, except physics said otherwise. When Pepperidge Farm shipped the Naples cookies to warmer southern climates, something tragic happened. The chocolate melted and the cookies stuck together. Customers would open the box and find accidental cookie sandwiches, which is adorable in theory, but a shipping nightmare in reality. So, Pepperidge Farm had two options. One, fix the problem, or two, pretend there was no problem. They chose door number 2, the same door behind most of capitalism's greatest inventions, and said, "Nuh-uh, we meant to do that."
I meant to do that.
Then they simply added a second cookie on top, turning it into an intentional sandwich cookie. Thus, the Milano was born. And the name, like many Pepperidge Farm cookies, it follows their tradition of naming products after European cities. Why? Because Margaret Rudkin loved Europe, and also because Texas in July cookie melt crisis solution doesn't look as classy on a package. The whole thing thing seems like an incredible stroke of luck. But Milanos aren't the only snacks invented by accident. Far from it. Chocolate chip cookies were invented when Ruth Wakefield ran out of baker's chocolate and chopped up a bar of semi-sweet Nestle chocolate instead. Cornflakes were invented when the Kellogg brothers accidentally left boiled wheat sitting out until it got stale, and then they rolled it out and ate it for some reason. Popsicles were invented by an 11-year-old who left sugary water outside overnight with a stick in it. Genius move, by the way. And potato chips were invented when a chef sliced potatoes extra thin to spite a complaining customer, and then the customer freaking loved it. Of course. But the Milano stands apart because it wasn't born in a moment of inspiration or spite. It was born simply because chocolate can't handle humidity. The Milano debuted in the late 1950s and quietly worked its way into grocery stores across the United States. While the exact date it hit shelves nationwide isn't well documented, it became a standard part of Pepperidge Farm's European-style cookie line by the 1960s and 70s. Was it immediately a bestseller? Not exactly. Pepperidge Farm cookies tended to be seen as premium, which in grocery store language means the shelf your mom wouldn't let you touch. But by the 1980s and 90s, Milanos were climbing the snack food power rankings, and it was no accident. In the late 90s, Pepperidge Farm made a major marketing pivot. Milanos were no longer just cookies, they were private indulgences. Ads targeted women who were tired, stressed, and in dire need of a treat that no one else in the household was allowed to eat. One tagline essentially boiled down to, "Hide these cookies from your family, you deserve them." And honestly, true and effective. Milano sales soared. Picture soft lighting, cozy kitchens, a woman wearing a sweater, sighing with contentment, a voiceover whispering something like, "Take a moment with Milano." The brand leaned hard into this vibe, and the message was clear. Milanos were the cookie you eat in secret behind a closed walk-in pantry door. Sure, Milanos didn't have celebrity endorsements on the level of, say, Oreo's hiring Shaq to dunk an entire bag, but they still made their mark in pop culture with cameos in everything from sitcoms,
cops eating Milanos? What crazy town is this?
To prestige dramas, usually as a shorthand for "this character has taste" and also anxiety. Looking at you, Niles Crane. Anyhow, Milanos remain one of Pepperidge Farm's top-selling cookie lines, often considered the flagship product. But of course, that level of success always breeds imitators. In 2016, Pepperidge Farm sued Trader Joe's over the retailer's crispy cookies filled with Belgian chocolate, which looks suspiciously identical to Milano's. Their argument boiled down to, you literally copied our whole vibe, shape, and I don't know, our entire identity?
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills!
Trader Joe's eventually discontinued the product, a rare defeat for the beloved grocery store that typically copies brands with zero remorse and zero consequence. As far as scandals go, this is the biggest Milano controversy on record, other than a few angry Reddit posts over the years, which is honestly impressive. For a product that's been around for almost 70 years, the worst thing it's done is be inspirational enough for Trader Joe's to try and copy you? Pretty good. Pepperidge Farm doesn't publish exact annual sales data for Milanos, but analysts estimate the cookie line brings in hundreds of millions of dollars annually, and Milanos continue to be one of the brand's strongest performers. As for flavors, there were 19 in 2020, and while Pepperidge Farm has trimmed some seasonal offerings, the line still boasts a wide variety. The OG flavor is milk chocolate. If someone says they don't like milk chocolate Milanos, check on them. Dark chocolate. They're richer. They're darker. They're listening to Phoebe Bridgers. Double dark chocolate. They're listening to Sufjan Stevens. You should also check on them, but for other reasons. Mint chocolate. Basically a thin mint that's studied abroad. Raspberry chocolate. Easily your fancy aunt's favorite flavor. Maybe grab her some for Christmas. Orange chocolate. Controversial, but also a good stocking stuffer for your grandma. Then in their special and seasonal rotation, they have amaretto, pumpkin spice, strawberry white chocolate, lemon white chocolate, coconut white chocolate, candy cane, toasted marshmallow, and many variations on caramel, just to name a few. The core line stays fairly stable, while limited edition releases come and go depending on the year, like a cookie leap year. But maybe you don't want to go buy those beautiful paper bags of sweetness. Maybe you want to know how to make your own Milanos, or crispy cookies filled with Belgian chocolate at home. Well, homemade Milanos are surprisingly doable and dangerously delicious. The process basically goes like this. 1. Make the cookie batter, a light, buttery dough piped into thin oval shapes. They bake fast, so watch them like a toddler near a staircase. 2. Melt the chocolate filling, usually a combination of semi-sweet chocolate and a bit of butter or cream to make it silky. 3. It's sandwich time, baby! Spread a stripe of chocolate on one cookie and top it with another cookie. Congratulations! Now you're Pepperidge Farm, minus the trademark lawyers. If you make these at home, you'll immediately understand why Pepperidge Farm sells these at a premium. Making cookies this thin and perfectly matched is annoying. They are tiny, edible divas. The point is, Milano Cookies didn't start as a grand culinary idea. They started as a shipping problem, a snack born of heat, humidity, and the eternal truth that chocolate is dramatic. But because Pepperidge Farm leaned in instead of throwing out thousands of chocolate-glued Naples, the world's got a cookie so elegant that people still, to this day, hide them from their families. From a 1957 oops to a modern-day supermarket icon, the Milano proves a universal truth. Sometimes the best inventions are mistakes you're smart enough to pretend you did on purpose. So what do you think? And which Milano flavor is your favorite? Let us know in the comments below. And while you're at it, check out some of these other videos from Weird History Food.